Folks, I have been in law enforcement for more than 20 years now, so the information that I'm giving to you in this video is good information today. So let's talk about how if you are forced to shoot a bad guy in self-defense, how you can keep the police officers from keeping you handcuffed and interrogating you for hours after your shooting incident. So let's just kind of set this video up. Let's say that you have been forced to shoot a violent attacker in self-defense, and now the police have arrived to your shooting scene and the police have handcuffed you. Now the police are going to have a ton of questions so they can figure out what's going on, so they can figure out why they've got a dead person here and you holding a smoking gun. So they're going to want to take you back to the police department and ask you a ton of technical questions. Technical questions that you don't want to answer at that point in time because of your mind frame that you're going to have immediately after a shooting. Now, when the police first arrive to your shooting incident scene, right there, they're just going to have general questions to give them a general idea of what occurred. But it's after that that they will have a lot of technical questions that they will want to take you back to their police department, remaining handcuffed, and they will want to ask you a lot of technical questions that can really trip you up legally, no matter how justified your self-defense shooting was. So here is what you can do at your self-defense shooting scene to stop the police from keeping you handcuffed and taking you back to their interrogation room where they will try to interrogate and question you for hours on end. Step one, the police are going to have to reconstruct that shooting incident scene because they need to ensure that that shooting incident isn't cold-blooded murder. Well, since they've got a dead body there. And because they need to reconstruct that scene, again, what I mentioned earlier about a ton of technical questions, they are going to want to ask you all those technical questions, such as, what did the bad guy say to you right before you shot him? Did you say anything to him right before you shot him? Where were you standing at when you fired your weapon? How many times did you fire your weapon? Which direction did you fire your weapon, etc.? But all of these technical questions are going to be aimed at you because either your robber is either deceased or he's wounded, severely wounded, and at the hospital. So what I practice for myself is that I give a simple statement at that scene to the first initial responding police officers. Something along the lines of, that guy did insert whatever crime he did. That placed me in fear for my life, so I defended myself. Now, I don't want to answer any more questions until I speak to my attorney, and I don't feel good and I wish to be taken to the hospital. So if a bad guy came up and pulled a knife on you and demanded your money and you shot him, your simple statement to the police would be, he approached me, he pulled a knife on me and demanded my money. That placed me in fear for my life, so I defended myself. Now I don't want to answer any more questions until I speak to my attorney, and I don't feel good and I wish to be taken to the hospital. Now what you're doing with a simple statement like that is that you are not saying so little that the police can't figure out what occurred there, but you're also not saying too much that could trip you up illegally in court down the road. Immediately after a self-defense shooting, you will not be in your right frame of mind. And you may use words that are innocent but can be misconstrued or twisted down the road by a gun-hating prosecutor or a greedy civil attorney. Now, I know right now there's some people that's pounding on their keyboard saying, don't say nothing to the cops, nothing at all. And hey, that is your right. That's your Fifth Amendment right if you want to say absolutely nothing at all, as long as you don't mind possibly spending months in jail leading up to your court trial. If you say nothing at all, the cops may never know then that that was an armed robbery that occurred there. And if they don't know that that was an armed robbery, then they don't know that you were justified in defending yourself. So if you want to say absolutely nothing at all, and if you don't mind spending months in a jail cell waiting for your court trial to happen, by all means, say absolutely nothing at all. But I can tell you this from personal experiences that after a self-defense shooting, you want nothing more than to be home and with your family. Okay, step number 2 with how to keep the cops from keeping you handcuffed and interrogating you for hours is to belong to some kind of legal self-defense association. Now, I belong to Firearms Legal Protection, link below if you want to check them out. But even if you don't belong to Firearms Legal Protection, belong to at least one of them. Now, when you are researching these different legal self-defense associations to belong to, what I think is most important that this company belongs to, that you end up joining, is that number one, they have a 24-hour hotline that you can call at your shooting scene, where an actual attorney will answer the phone and tell you what to say and do until he gets there. And then that they also have an attorney that immediately starts your way so that he can be with you as soon as possible, so your attorney can deal with the police instead of you. To put this simply, being legally protected at your shooting scene during those first few minutes after your shooting, that can really set the stage for how the rest of that legal course is going to go for you. So if I am ever involved in another shooting, what I will do is I will call Firearms Legal Protection. That attorney that answers the phone, even if it's 1 o'clock in the morning, will tell me exactly what to say or do until he gets there. And then once he gets there, he will be the one dealing with the investigators, not me. Now, if the police still arrest you, even though your self-defense attorney is showing that you did a justified and legal shooting, Firearms Legal Protection will have a bail bondsman standing by waiting to bond you out of jail. Now let's talk about step number 3 that you can take to help keep yourself out of police custody after you've been forced to shoot a violent attacker in self-defense, and that is, once your attorney has been able to show the police that you did a justified shooting, they are still more than likely going to need those technical questions answered that I talked about earlier in the video. And the way these questions are answered can sometimes end up deciding if you end up getting arrested at a later point or spending the rest of your life in prison. So step number 3 is to have your self-defense attorney help you prepare that detailed statement that answers all of those technical questions that the police investigators have for your shooting incident. Now, what your self-defense attorney is going to do is he is going to help you draft your detailed statement that answers all of those technical questions that the police investigators will have to help reconstruct that shooting incident scene. And what he's going to do is he's going to make sure that you use wording and verbiage that cannot be twisted or misconstrued and used against you down the road. And these self-defense attorneys, again, they are self-defense experts, and they are going to know how to paint the whole picture of what occurred so that it will show law enforcement that you were in fear for your life and that it was reasonable for you to pull your trigger in self-defense. For me personally, I live in a conservative state, so I am not worried about getting arrested for shooting a deadly attacker in self-defense. What I am most concerned about is getting sued civilly in civil court by that bad guy's family down the road. And that's why I want my self-defense attorney by my side when I prepare that detailed statement, so that it's worded truthfully, but worded in a way that will shoot any possible future civil suits down. So, to help stop the police from keeping you handcuffed and interrogating you for hours after you've been forced to shoot a violent attacker in self-defense, what I suggest is step number 1, give only that brief statement to the initial responding police. And then step number 2, call your self-defense legal association's 24-hour hotline so their attorney comes to your scene and starts handling the police on your behalf. And then step number 3, if your self-defense attorney decides that it would be best to give a detailed statement to keep your butt out of prison, then have your attorney help you draft that detailed statement. So now comment down below, do you know of anybody that's been involved in a self-defense shooting where the steps that I outlined in this video has actually helped them legally? And when most people get involved in a self-defense shooting, most people end up in shock because they experience a lot of mental and physical reactions to that shooting that they weren't expecting. So to learn what most of the gun community does not know, click on the video that should be appearing on the screen just about now to learn that powerful information. Anyways, folks, this is enough internet for me today, and I do need to go train. Folks, if you made it this far, hey, thank you very much for watching, and I pray that you have a good night.